everyone's noticed.
Thanks, Phil.
No problem. So from a brief agenda point of view, we're just going to run through a couple of slides I've put together in terms of current complexities that I think we're all facing. And then we're going to move into the open session. And that open session is really for me to get a bit of an understanding from everybody as to what we want from this group. I think the exciting thing from this group is that we've got an opportunity to really tailor it to support, so that it's not just a meeting that everyone's joining for the sake of it. It is, a useful portal really to help with challenges that we as businesses we're all facing, whether that's importing or exporting, and whether that's products or services. And then there's a slide on some of the international trade shows that have been collated previously. We'll talk about the next meeting, which will be an in-person meeting for the group, and then there'll be an opportunity for us to share any questions or open discussion. So from a complexities point of view, I think the obvious one, or the obvious things that are facing us as an industry right now are import problems around transportation, whether that be costs, legislation, restrictions on tariffs, taxes, custom issues, and again, you only have to pick up the newspapers or go online at the minute, and every day there seems to be a challenge that's coming at us from a logistics point of view, whether it's jet fuel shortages, boats stuck in canals being shut due to war, or likewise strikes that we seem to face regularly coming across the channel for a lot of us as manufacturers bringing product in from Europe and further seas. From a point of view as a business, I think we all face the biggest challenge is keeping costs in control, and some of the things that really, for many years have affected us from a point of view of raw materials, staffing costs, but also then our energy costs as running buildings, what those buildings look like, and from my point of view, what we need to do as a group is to start pooling resources that can really help us as an industry pull together. And this is what the FEA is here for, is to support us as members to find ways to improve or streamline, or again find better ways of doing business, both not just in the UK but obviously further afield. So whether that's a UK manufacturer or whether that be that we're an importer of foreign-made product or services. So from an open point of view, this was a number of topics that were put together by the former group, and for those of you that were part of that, you'll know that this group used to be called the Export Group, and obviously it sort of, again, pre-Brexit, export was the main focus. I think it limited the opportunity for members to join in terms of understanding, for a lot of us, we are importers as opposed to exporters. So the group, I think, faced some challenges in terms of traction and getting the right sort of pool of information to help those people. Changing this group then to the International Trade Group, or the ITG, gives us a much greater, broader sort of topic pool. And I think this was, Gary shared this previously, and this goes back to 2023, which was the last meeting. And these were some of the topics that were raised as kind of topic conversation points, and things for the group to really focus and challenge and go after finding relative information. I've updated a couple of these, but by and large, these all still exist in terms of challenges for us as an industry. So, whether it be documentation on imports, whether it be market trends, sales strategies. These are all topics that I think, from my point of view, as a group, we from today start to build key topics that we can then narrow this down to sort of two or three that we really focus on as a group, because there'll be people on the call, I hope, that probably are challenged daily with some of these things and are probably struggling to find resources or again, information or help in terms of getting over these challenges. So I'll open it to the floor in terms of anyone that wants to lead with things as a business that you're currently challenged with, and again, from that we can hopefully start a bit of a topic of an agenda for the next meeting. Don't be afraid to talk, people.
You might need to start calling on people, Phil.
I'll start this off. My name's Angela. I'm from Track Systems. We're part of the Hupfer Group.
Yeah.
And we import on a weekly basis from Germany to the UK, from Hupfer to our warehouse in Liverpool. And while that is okay, we've got that sort of down to a T, because Hupfer, for the most part, will sort everything out for us. What Track comes up against is we manufacture and we sell conveyors worldwide. And a lot of our custom is in Ireland as well. And as well as manufacturing, we install the conveyors. And what we've come across is not being able to transport our conveyors with our engineers to Ireland. So that's our main issue, having to get another company in, transport the goods, and then we need to then travel on the ferry. We've still got to fill out documentation for our tools, etc., even though we're not carrying anything other than tools. So that's our biggest issue, and we really don't know where to start with it, how to go about it, how to transport our own goods.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that maybe someone within the group now would be able to help with this.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Yeah, I mean, as a business that I work for, we currently import into Ireland, but it's only product. It's not people. And I guess from your point of view, that's the challenge. There is, in terms of cost control, is that taking your engineers and the product at the same time, in theory, is a driver for cost savings, if I'm right.
It's more the paperwork that comes with it.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that I've been able to find that will tell us exactly what we need to do, what paperwork we need to do, what needs completing. It's a minefield. So at the moment, I'm sending them. They've got to go on freight, because we're carrying tools. So we'll complete a MRN, a PBN, dangerous goods, and that's just to get the engineers from mainland to Ireland,
Yeah.
with no goods. But we don't know how to go about doing the paperwork, what is required to take the goods with the engineers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ireland.
I would imagine there are people within the membership of the FEA that are sending engineers quite regularly in, so that's something we can certainly reach out and start to try and understand. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that, so it's definitely an action point we can take away to help you.
It's even going to Northern Ireland. So on the Hupfer side of the business, we've got the sales team that do a lot of what they call lunch and learn. So they'll just take products to Northern Ireland, on the ferry and then come back the day after. So we're not importing anything, but we want to start doing this in Southern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, also.
Yeah.
So again, I'm looking for any help really, because it's not clear on how to go about this neither. We've had numerous conversations with customs to do with Northern Ireland, and we don't get very far, to be honest. No one seems to have a clear answer on what's required.
Okay. I see
So
John.
that's what I'm hoping to get out of it, really.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for, I think.
Yeah.
John, you got your hand up, I can see.
Yeah, Angela, I feel your pain. I don't know the answers myself, but one of the things this group has available to it is, you might all know Luke Slater, our policy and regulation director. Now, Luke is on leave this week, a lucky fella down in Cornwall, but he would normally be on these meetings. And I know we've had members in the past, Angela, talking about exactly the same thing. I remember more than a year ago, KTEX show in Dublin, and people just want to take equipment over for a show, put it back on a van and take it back. And we had a couple of members having all sorts of problems with what should have been fairly simple. Now, I don't know what the paperwork and what the solution was, but as you say, we must have people in the group. And I know Luke was supporting with that. So he did some research and he might have a better handle on it. So, Angela, I've scribbled your name here. I'm going to ask Luke when he comes back to get in touch with you and just share what he knows about it. It might not be a definitive answer, but if we understand the problem, we could certainly do some research for you.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I think
appreciated.
Thank you, John. I think obviously, as I was sort of building up to this meeting, one of the things that I often thought about was, as a business ourselves, we set up an Irish subsidiary. We've got a bonded warehouse, and we import product from our factory in Italy. We then put it in a bonded warehouse and then move it to Ireland for that very reason. Angela, there was some real complexities after sort of post Brexit. There was so much uncertainty and red tape, and again, similar to you, as a business, I know we really struggled to get answers, and it really impacted us as a business. And like I say, I think leading up to this meeting, one of the things I did think was that as an industry, we can all pull together. One of the next steps we're taking is we're actually taking on an Irish warehouse, which again will improve our processes. And I think, again, as an industry, if we can all pull together, whether it be sharing experiences or
definitely
hints and tips, but also resources, because again, if we know, from a servicing point of view, people help each other out, whether it's third-party engineers, whether it's install, and again, that's, I guess, one of my interests for this group is to offer a resource that really helps everybody, go to it and find solutions to these kind of nuances and problems that we're all going to encounter. It's not going to be a long-term fix, but finding short-term solutions is definitely something that we try and do.
Just another thought, Phil. We also have an associate company called Brunel Shipping.
Yep.
Who we might be able to reach out to and ask for their advice as well.
Definitely. Yep.
So I've made notes as Angela's been talking as well. So yeah, there are avenues that we can use to try to answer Angela's questions. Definitely.
That'd be great. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rob. Nick, I can see you. Welcome to the call.
Morning, Phil. Yeah, just thinking out loud, listening to Angela's issue, we had a very similar problem. We don't send people over with product, but we had big issues sending product over. I don't know if she's a member of her local Chamber of Commerce. They were really useful to us, and got us very good information on how to navigate the difficulties of getting product out there. So it might be worth making contact with her local Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Nick. We have done. And while they've provided the information for Northern Ireland, and they're helpful in every other respect, it's not something they could really give us a definitive answer on.
Okay.
But I mean, they have been helpful in regards to taking products just for, you know, not importing, but just for exhibitions to Northern Ireland, but unfortunately not for anywhere else.
Sorry, I can't find the feature to raise hand on my Zoom. I was wondering if anyone in the last year or two has had experience setting up an entity in Netherlands. That seems to be the popular area rather than Germany. For those focused on initiating, we've already done a bunch of stuff in the EU, but scaling business in continental EU rather than in the Irish and Northern Irish side. Is there anyone here that has experience? If they're silent and not, if it's a note that could be taken, very interested in that, and what costs are involved, and perhaps what sort of level of annual business makes it worthwhile doing that rather than just selling X Works from the UK.
Just so I'm clear, so you're talking about exporting product from the UK into the Netherlands as a more, I'll say, cost-effective, but an easier solution than directly to other countries.
Correct. Yeah, selling into the whole of the EU with no particular bias to any area. Obviously, France, Spain, DAC region are the biggest markets. Makes sense to have somewhere geographically close to the UK by way of shipping.
Yeah.
We're not sure at what level of business it makes sense to set up some form of local storage and local entity so that we can say we've got an EU address. It seems to be that Netherlands is where this is more accommodating. I don't know if it offers more tax-friendly setup than Germany. Most of us have learnt after leaving the EU that in or outside of the EU, the different sort of import duties and tax regimes are still completely different by country. Still seem to be pretty opaque until products landed there often. So I was wondering if anyone has experience on that. As I said, from what I picked up, Netherlands seems to be the close country to do it. Road transport to Germany is basically the same, Belgium, France, Netherlands, Germany. But it seems to be the Netherlands is where companies going from a relatively small to a sort of medium level of turnover set up something local in order to have product available locally. And I think the most important aim or value is in saying to all dealers in the EU that we have product in the country and that we've sort of risk mitigated hold-ups at the borders and obviously unforeseen import tariffs.
Which again, I think this, and thank you for asking the question. I think what this helps us do is start to build these almost not even frequently asked questions, but frequently experienced problems, and creating that pool of data that we can then start from this group, start to share, and yourself and Angela, obviously those questions start to lead us to two different markets, obviously both from an export point of view, and then likewise, some of the challenges that I mentioned before from an import point of view, just as quick reference links or portals to helpful opportunities. And likewise, there'll be members within the FEA that can offer solutions to some of these problems. We've mentioned trade shows there in Ireland. So, there are specialist logistic companies, as Rob quite rightly said, that again, we can maybe speak to and start to build resources that we can help and share. So we'll put that as an action point, and myself and John will invariably try and come back to you if someone not yet currently confident enough to be vocal, but somebody on the call that might be able to help you with something that they've got. So we'll come back to you for sure.
Thanks. Yeah, that'd be ideal.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, I don't know anyone using Netherlands as such. Don't have any personal experience of that. But the other thing I'll throw in the loop just for the group is, of course, FEA are part of FSEM, the European Federation of Equipment Manufacturers, which mean I'm linked with our partner bodies across Europe. So people like HKI in Germany, FELAC in Spain, Sinotam in France. Most of the country, Netherlands is an outlier. don't think there's an equivalent body in Netherlands. Otherwise, I'd say, well, I might not know, but I could connect you with someone who would know. But we'll put the feelers out, and I've got that network of, I think it's 9 associations across Europe. Not all European nations have an equivalent body, but those that do tend to be part of FSEM. So I'm fairly well connected. So if there are, just for everyone, if there are countries out there that, look, I don't have much experience in the Italian market or the German market or some of those, absolutely, I can help to connect you with people there. So.
Thanks, Ian. I suppose I'd be particularly interested if there was a mail shot to the whole FEA International Trading Group. Exactly as Phil said, those who aren't necessarily confident or proactive about raising this issue. But if the question was asked for all of those businesses that do not have entities in the EU, are you interested at some point in setting up something local? Maybe there could be a pool of 10, 12 of us businesses who could, how I say it, synergize, take advantage of some economies of scale.
Definitely.
And reduce our upfront costs respectively.
I agree. I think supporting UK manufacturing is obviously we've talked long and hard about, the challenges of UK manufacturing. So I think, again, if we can offer a platform to help and make that, again, whether it be more justification for the membership of the FEA or likewise just helping, the industry we all work in, it's definitely going to have some advantage. So that will take as an action point for sure.
Hi, Phil, Dan Owen from Fat Stripper.
Hi, how you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good. So we've done an interesting story, a little bit reverse, because we actually started off as an Irish company, and post Brexit we set up a UK entity. So we were importing, we were manufacturing in Letterkenny and Slovakia and importing into the UK. We've now established UK manufacturing and now a net exporter. So we're exporting to Greece, France, Ireland, etc. And what, basically echoing what's been said already, is what we find is the inconsistency in the customs regimes and the application of them. So it can even vary between port of entry, whether Egypt is going in through Athens or Thessaloniki. In Greece, for example, we would get two different regimes, if you like. And there seems to be knowledge, there's inconsistent knowledge even within the exporters. So whether that's FedEx, DHL, or, we use a freight broker at times. And we get as I say, it's just the mixed messages that we get constantly, which is confusing. It makes it very difficult for pricing.
Yeah. Is that, Dan, so that fluctuations with each carrier, you're saying, as opposed to?
Yeah, within carriers and within port of entry. Yeah.
Which I noticed before. Julian Fisher's on the call from Partstown, who I know through our work with them, are sending parts on a hourly basis to Ireland and further afield through their network of Partstown. So I don't know if Julian, if I know obviously you don't work on the export side per se, it's more a marketing, but is that something that you've seen from a business in terms of complexities on varying costs?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the plug, Phil, by the way. I owe you a $5 for that. But, yeah, it's gone up, has it? It's gone up. All right. Okay. Inflation. Yes. Yeah. Southern Ireland, Northern Ireland has its own complexities. We obviously ship to mainland Europe as well. But yeah, we can certainly give some advice and help for what we know, but spare parts is a bit easier. But where we struggle as well is with what we class as hazardous cargo. So be it a SMEG cleaner, there you go, back to you, Phil, or maybe a coffee cleaner for a Lapavoni machine. There you go, that's another $5, Phil. If we're shipping it and it's classed as it's got a cost sheet on it or an SDS sheet, that's where we still have problems. And maybe if there's a portal that we could help with that, because we don't know if it's hazardous or not. Sometimes the manufacturer making it doesn't know either. So we would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah. like
we actually came across this the other day, Julian. Sending some motors to Australia, which we've never done before, and trying to find a company that would allow us to send hazardous goods, or what we would perceive as hazardous goods, was an absolute nightmare. They're very, very few and far between.
Yeah, we have an entity in Australia, and we if it's too heavy or you can't X-ray through it, then they have a problems with that. So we've recently had some success with FedEx International. So we're neutral with couriers as well, but recently, in the last 6 months, we've had more success with them. They seem to have, so that's maybe someone to try. We use all the couriers, as you know, as Phil kindly said, but I would probably recommend them at the moment. Give them a try.
We did look at FedEx, but because it was a pallet as well, we were even more restricted. But we're the same. We're quite neutral as well when it comes to couriers. And we're always open to newer couriers as well. So we got around it, but it was just a bit of work and something we'd not come up against before.
Yeah, I think they do a pallet division as well, but then going back to other points about economies of scale, if it's only one pallet once to a far out destination, then the cost can be significant, even with these big carriers.
For sure.
Which again, going back to Dan's question and also your issues, Angela, I think again, it's not to make any promises on the call now, but again, we could maybe look at inviting a carrier onto the group call in future meetings, just to discuss experiences, sort of industry sort of tips and hints on how to navigate these problems. And again, who knows, that might actually lead to further engagement with the wider group of FEA members. And again, it's always about sort of pulling all the pieces together and gluing these kind of problems together for everybody. But it's clear already. I think we're half an hour into first ever meeting, and I think the obvious two sort of subjects that have straight away come up are paperwork and transportation costs, which I know from the carriers we talk to and use is that they're very unwilling to nail down costs, because it's a constant sliding scale and a constant challenge that they're facing. And they obviously just pass those costs on to ourselves as customers. So I think it would definitely be something we can use as a starting topic, as a highlight. I think from that point of view, is there anyone else on the call that has anything that's not necessarily related to transportation or documentation, or even the documentation that's around different areas of the business or industry?
Morning to you, Phil. It's Duncan at RHL.
Hi, Duncan. You all right, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Just something that came up through our factory engagement with Sharp over in Japan.
Yep.
And this was to do with some EU regulation that was brought to our attention. It seems like the sort of the communication level of EU regulations is a bit fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
And we were brought, this was brought to our attention to do with an EU machinery regulation 2023-1230, which on further inspection was predominantly to do with moving of goods into Europe, and that regulation didn't seem to apply to any UK supply chain scenarios. So it was a really understanding of what this sort of FEA trade group can support UK businesses with updating on EU regulations, or any change in EU regulations that we would need to consider, predominantly from our business offering into the supply into Ireland. We don't do much export outside of Ireland. So that's really what sort of one of the points I wanted to bring to the group, really.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Yeah, I think similarly, that's, whilst it's sort of semi-linked to the transport of goods, it's the compliance and these regulations that, again, I think going back to Angela and Dan's point, is that it's the uncertainty. And I think, as John said before, with Luke back in the business, what we'll probably look to do is start to build that link to, whether it be by country or region or continent, that we start to build some real clear resources that people can quickly dive into, really. I mean, obviously the internet is a really powerful tool to get a lot of this information, but in the same light, there's so many, as I started to do a bit of research into today's meeting, and it's a minefield, absolute minefield. So yeah, I think helping with these pain points in specifics from one country to another, and both ways, both import and export, I think is I think it's clear we're obviously going to build hopefully a really useful resource bank that can help businesses like yourself. Oh, John's back.
Yeah, sorry, just chipping in. I can't agree with you more. We're experiencing what's widely being termed the tsunami of regulation coming out of Europe, which is it's great that in one sense, regulation is helpful to the industry, but we've been lobbying the British government particularly to say, look, there's a danger. Whilst Europe is peddling frantically at lots of regulations coming out, many of them are good, so it's not anti-regulation, but there's a danger that UK start to do something different. And in some areas we're seeing that, things like you've got eco design on there, the warewashing trial that's going on in Europe. We do have a pretty good relationship with government, albeit they've got their own challenges at the moment. They're asking us about regulations that get in the way of good business, because government, DBT particularly, ask us about international trade. What are the barriers? What are the challenges we've got? Which is part of why I'm in this group and why we want this group going, is to be able to feed in to government specifically. These are the things that are causing problems, be it, Angela's touched on, I'm sensing things like the Windsor framework. We get a sense it's not working, but really practical examples where this is causing a barrier to trade. So yeah, useful for us to have this, to be able to feed it in. I've scribbled a note of the 2023-1230 machinery regulation. I'm not aware of it. I'm hoping it might be on Luke's radar, though. When Luke's back, we'll know a bit more about this. And the final thing to say is we do lobby, although we're a British trade association, we absolutely do lobby Europe and Brussels also, alongside Westminster, to try and get alignment on those regulations. So we're active, as I say, with DBT and a few government departments in Westminster, but we're also part of, I mentioned FSEM, to lobby Europe, and they've got an organisation called Orglim that turn up in Brussels all the time and lobby them in a direction. So we do feed into that with our European partners. And we're also a member of a group called the EU Relationship and Industrial Strategy Group, EURIS, which is a bunch of manufacturing associations in the UK who club together to encourage and support Westminster to have closer alignment with Europe. So all those things you're talking about there, Duncan, are useful for me to get my head around the details, so that we can really push the right buttons both in Brussels and in Westminster. So I haven't got any answers for you. That's what I'm not offering, but right now. But yeah, we have got all of that available at our disposal to pull some levers and influence a few people.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, as I say, I mean, I don't know if any other businesses are aware of this, as I say, this EU machinery regulation, but our understanding is that for any business that have not got this regulation under control or within their business plans to facilitate, that they won't be able to move product into Europe beyond, I think, the latter part of January. So it could say, I have reached out to Luke, and as I say, it seems a bit of an uncertainty of exactly what this regulation seems to actually cover. There also is subsequent new EU packaging regulations, which I think we've also been made aware of as well. So, as I say, it seems a plethora of regulations, like you said, all coming in very consistently. And ultimately, we don't get, as businesses, I suppose, of our size, we don't always get that notification come through. So, like I said, if there is a communication chain that could be started from this group, from supporting our businesses, then that will obviously be really advantageous for us to be on the front foot rather than on the back foot, where we're scrabbling around trying to get the information and ultimately understanding whether we can move product into those territories.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you.
Thanks,
John,
guys.
I think the useful thing there is, as I said at the outset, from my wish is that this group generates useful content that all businesses can go at. But as a group, we lead it. Not all other businesses in the FEA can then access that. I don't want to overpromise, and John will probably stop me at any point that I do start doing that. But the FEA have invested quite heavily in a new website, and there'll be a lot of new tools on that website. And I think the website, I mentioned before, the internet being a very useful thing, but at least if we amalgamate all of these kind of frequently asked questions or frequently experienced problems into that portal, we can very much then you've got a one-stop shop then, and we can start to tailor that. I'm just bouncing ideas, but again, if it be that you put destination country in, and it gives you all of the necessary things that are relevant to that area of the world, useful resources in terms of logistical sort of links to paperwork that's needed, best practice carriers that can be used, that again, as an industry, we can start to pull those things and drive shared resources. So yeah, we're starting already, I feel like, to build sort of a path for this group to lead and support the wider industry, but primarily ourselves as as the group.
So, excuse me, Phil. I'm going to have to leave. I'm going to go jump on the ferry to go and sell some products in Europe. So I think Lauren's still on the call, who works with me. She'll update me, but apologies, I'm going to leave early.
No. Well, safe travels on the ferry.
Okay. All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
You missed the opportunity to say cruise ship then. I would have said cruise ship, but so this presentation will be shared after the call with yourselves, and again, we'll probably use the attendee list as a starting point in terms of sharing some answers and some resources initially. Is there anyone else on the call that wanted to raise anything now? Again, this will be an open forum moving forward. So, again, if it's something that comes up in the coming weeks, or you come off the call and suddenly think, oh yeah, actually I meant to raise this, do feel free to reach out to myself or Jocelyn on the call, and John and Luke obviously when he's back. But just moving on then I'm just mindful of time. I promised myself we won't go over an hour. I don't want to put you all off for the next one. Moving on to the next topic was overseas exhibitions. Obviously, it was mentioned earlier in the call, in the meeting, that there's some challenges with going to shows, but actually, as whether it be UK manufacturers or subsidiaries of European or international companies, we are asked or supported in going to different countries. This was a list back in 2023 of international trade shows. Now, I don't, other than host, which I think most people in our industry visit as the go-to European show. There are obviously international shows on here. I also aware there's many more shows that aren't on here that are subsidiaries and sister offices will also attend and exhibit at. And I thought maybe an idea for us as a group was that we'd start to pull, again, as a resource, a calendar of these events. And again, whether that be that we can search by country or by time. So as a calendar, you can see all the events mapped out. And again, as a group, what I'd ask is that, we start that, and if there's any missing, that you share them, that we can then share those. Again, they may be brand new, they may be overlooked because they're only loosely connected. And again, I'm mindful, obviously, from my point of view of coming from an equipment background, there are shows that aren't necessarily always equipment based. They may be food, service, components, and any other area of our industry that isn't necessarily covered by this. So any shows that we are aware of, we can share. Then we can again start to build a real nice bank of a resource that is global trade shows. And then the final point then is our next meeting. So myself and Jocelyn spoke a week or two ago. We've provisionally, I think I'm right in saying, Jocelyn, we said the 9th.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and we've left the 10th as just in case any of you have got an obvious reason why we should avoid the 9th. We couldn't find anything in the calendars to suggest that the 9th was a no because of an industry event or anything like that. So we're planning on doing an in-person meeting. I think today has already driven some great content that we can start to build on, and certainly plenty of weekend and evening work for myself. And again, we've got some options. And Julian, apologies, I did put not yet approached. So
yeah, no, you're very welcome. The 9th, we are hosting somebody else on the 9th.
There you go. So you're ruled out. We'll delete that now.
No, we can, us, we'd host the opening of an envelope, but the 9th, somebody else is doing something similar. But the 10th is free.
Yeah. So I think, like I say, unless anybody can share anything on the 9th that is a no, we'll go with the 9th. And I know Jocelyn's already booked the boardroom down at the FEA head office. And again, I'll gladly support an after drink for everybody. But I think if we start with that, and again, I'm sure there's people on the call that would gladly share office space or meeting rooms, boardrooms as we see fit moving forwards. I think we've agreed that in essence we'll good point. Thank you, Julian. So Julian's just let me know that it's the CEDA AGM, which I know we do have a few CEDA members that are FEA members as well. So again, that might offer a small limitation, but we'll go with the 9th for now. And again, if anyone can't make that, they can obviously always make apologies. We'll stick with the FEA office as the venue. And like I say, that'll be an in-person meeting, and I think by then we'll start to build a real strong agenda platform that we can then start to go through and build the next meeting from. We've agreed that we'll only do 2 meetings a year, so you're not overly sort of bombarded with lots of time out of your busy working schedule to join these calls, but actually it's just refreshers then to reset, give ourselves some more target sort of agendas and go again. In the background, I'll work obviously with the team at the FEA then to start building some of these resource pools. And as I said before, anything you think of post call, please share, and we'll add that in and work on that. But this is very much a call to keep in contact, but also reach out and make us aware of anything that you're having challenges with, because I'm sure you won't be alone as a business, and we'll definitely use that as a starting point to build that next agenda.
Sorry, that was the 9th of which month?
December.
December.
Yeah, 9th of December.
Bill, we've had an offer.
Sorry, I'm looking at the other screen.
Bill, we've had an offer from Nick at Meckline as well to offer their premises.
Yeah, perfect.
So they've got a really good sized room there. So
yeah. So again, maybe you know, we stay with the London one for that, and then we start to move it around thereafter.
Sounds good.
Because I appreciate London is a challenge, but in the same light, well, not for everybody. Hey, Jocelyn, or John, but invariably, yeah, I think, you know, we can't, if we leave it in London every time, it does become a challenge for a lot of people. So we'll move it around just to give opportunity and ease for the people based further north. And like I say, those meetings will be very useful in person. The previous meeting in 2023 included guest speaker. And again, as I mentioned before, as we go along, if we start to realise there's a real hot topic, we'll definitely try and get, whether it be an industry or out of industry person in to help talk on those subjects, and we can bombard them with questions. I know I've sort of been part of the whale washing group for many years, and I remember the infamous meeting when we invited RAS in to talk about water regulations, and I think the FEA office, they were queuing around the corner to take aim and fire questions at RAS. So I think definitely, if there's anything burning that you would, you know, or people that you would like us to reach out and try and get in on those meetings, let us know, and we'll absolutely try and do that. And then
maybe someone from the DBT.
The what? Sorry,
I just wondered if it's worth having someone from the DBT. There are a fair few sort of career, tariff, sort of logistical, international administrative locations. They get fired up.
No, absolutely. I think, you know, like I say, it's finding someone relative is always useful, because it drives the engagement and the people willing and interested to then come, because I do appreciate it's an investment of time. But absolutely, it's about adding value. So if we can get somebody that's willing to come in the stab proof vest and take all the challenges and the questions from us, then so be it. We'll push for that.
I think we probably could on that one, Phil, as well. I think DBT ask us a lot, what are members struggling with and grappling with? So they'll want to come along, not just to help us understand, but for them to understand as well and hear it firsthand. Yeah. So I think we probably could get government rep along, depending on how things change, of course, between now and December. But I think that is a good shout. And the other thing I'd throw in the hat is not just for this group to think about challenges, but I'd encourage everyone on this call. You've all got an awful lot of it, international export expertise. What have been your successes as well? Anything that you've found actually that you're happy to share? And I would encourage everyone to just think about that, where you've maybe had a partner or a certain market that was difficult to get through, or a certain courier that we're using, or a certain port that Dan, I think, shared earlier. Stuff like that, all that intel builds. And if we can all get in a habit of sharing it with each other, we'll all be stronger for it. So think about, I won't put anyone on the spot, but if you've got anything where actually we're quite good at exporting to here and others might not be, and we're happy to share it, and it's not too commercially sensitive, please put your hand up. We'll get your space on the agenda.
No, agreed. Good. That leads me to my last slide, which is anything else, which kind of really we've already explored this as an opportunity for further questions or sharing of problems. We've got 9 minutes left, which you know, again, if anyone wants to raise anything now, please do. But otherwise, yeah, we'll, as I said before, we'll start to build some topics and some agenda points, you know, of narrowing down certainly some of the things that have been raised today. And thank you for everyone that have brought things to the table. It's obviously always useful when we start with a blank canvas to start somewhere. And as I said before, this isn't just for me, I'm not going to invest my time for this just to be an hour catch up and, you know, and it not being meaningful for everybody. So I will absolutely put the effort and the work in to make sure we build the resources and make this a worthwhile industry-led group that can again take pride in really helping every area of the business, the industry. Sorry. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your input. Please keep sharing, as John said. And there was one other point that I made note of, which was, obviously, I kindly got asked to chair this, but what we also need as a group is a vice chair. God forbid I'm not here or able to lead this group. What I do need is somebody who'll step in. Again, we won't put anyone on the spot, but if there's anyone on the call now that would, or anyone on the call that thinks of somebody within their own business that would be interested or worthwhile advice, then please put them forward. Again, either to myself or to Jocelyn, and we'll take those nominations forward. And yeah, thank you again for joining the call, giving up your time. We'll absolutely keep in touch, and we'll share the presentation and any resources that we start to build thereafter. So yes, thank you everyone for your time, and stay safe in this heat.
Thanks, Phil.
See you in